He sees himself as the biblical David of the New Patriotic Party, ready to down President John Dramani Mahama in the upcoming 2016 elections. He picked up his nomination forms and is ready to contest for the Flagbearship slot of the New Patriotic Party. Stephen Asamoah Boateng, former information minister, together with Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, have already picked up their nomination forms. And this is today's big story.
Said to me, is this your place? Can you do this job? And I referred them to David, the story of David. He wasn't a warrior. He wasn't asked to go and fight in the fields when the Philistines were teasing the Israelites. He went out there and knew he can do the job. His elder brother nearly slapped him. He said, go back home, go and look after the sheep. That's where you belong. Most people would think I don't belong here, but God in his own wisdom knows what he's about and doing. And all that David said, if you remember, I think it's 1 Samuel chapter 17, verse 29. It says, what have I said wrong? Can't I even speak? So let Asabi speak. And I may be the David that can down the Goliath for us.
Tonight's big story, we explore the various angles. Well, of course, we explore the various angles to the NPP Flagbearship race. And we're asking, are we likely to see more candidates pick up their nomination forms as it happened in 2008? My name is Prince Minka. So at the party headquarters today, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, the 2012 flag bearer of the NPP, picked up his nomination forms, ready to contest for the Flagbearship slot once again. He wasn't the only one, because Nana Akufo-Addo had few words though, but the gentleman that had a lot to say was Stephen Asamoah Boateng, former information minister in the Yeswa Akufo administration. He picked up his forms, and of course we spoke to him earlier, and this is what he had to say.
So I want to find out from you. It's interesting. This must really be a wild ambition, because in the last election you lost to Thomas Aquinas. So what makes you think that even in your own constituency you lost? And so, I mean, what makes you think that you win?
Good question.
For your party.
Good question. My answer is simple. Anyone who has never lost an election has never fought one before. If you have never fought it before, you can sit in your bedroom and your back door and talk. That one is good. But if you've done it before, losing and winning is part of the democratic dispensation that we have been backed on. And let me also assure you that when you lose, you learn. And you learn from a lower level and pick it up and do better. At the end of the day, that seat never belonged to the NPP, so I didn't lose it. It didn't belong to us in the first place. I snatched one. Use the word snatched. From the NDC, it was a NDC control seat. It's like Asabi picking a seat from K2 South. So going back to where it did belong, yes, maybe my flamboyant nature and my own character thought that it was a safe seat. It was never a safe seat. So it doesn't matter. I quoted Winston Churchill, and for his famous quote, he said, success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It's the courage to pick up and go. That is what makes you a man.
Probably. Finally, something I want to ask you. What would you say to critics who would say that, let's face reality, your chances are slim, you're wasting money?
Well, I've given you the story of David, haven't I? If you want me to give you another one, I'll give you Nehemiah.
He's got more stories, obviously, up his sleeves, but the story continues as far as the NPP Flagbearship race is concerned, and we're going to subject the various candidates who have picked up their nomination forms to a bit of scrutiny, and we'll find out exactly what the chances really are like for them. Already we know that Alan Kojo-Kyerematen would obviously be picking up his nomination forms a bit later. Could it be next week, next 2 weeks, next month? We don't know yet. We'll find out shortly. And what about Asamoah Boateng, former information minister? What are his chances really like? Because he sees himself as the British bulldog. And in his own words, I put my teeth in something. When I put my teeth in something, I bite and breathe at the same time. Would he be the flag bearer of the New Patriotic Party for the 2016 elections? Let's speak to pollster Benefson. He joins us on the phone lines. Good evening to you, Benefson, and thank you very much for joining us here on today's big story.
Good evening, Prince. Good evening to your viewers.
Now, We've seen Stephen Asamoah Boateng pick up his nomination forms. Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo has done same. Alan Kyerematen is yet to do same. We also know of the Mampong MP also picking his nomination forms. Basically, how is it going to look like for the NPP as far as the flag bearership race is concerned?
Well, thank you. I think that as we speak now, 6 people have picked. And if they are all ready to bite the bullet of paying 25,000 Ghana, we expect that the 6 will be, I'm definitely Alan will pick. That will be 7. I think, as you can say, has dropped out. If Mpomboate comes on board, 8. So clearly, they have a mini election before they go to a general one.
Now, in 2008, this is what we saw. We saw a number of candidates contest for the flag bearership slot. Now, with the way things are panning out, are we likely to see the same situation this year?
You see, within the NPP, there are 2 main broad camps. One camp which thinks that Nana Addo should be given a fair chance. It's been marketed, it was close. As those who say they won, they should just stop that children agreement. The Supreme Court ruled they lost. But they think that now is their best bet. The other big size support group is for those who think that they should be given a chance. Nana has had his chance to close elections, he's lost. Now, if there are about 7, you are talking about 6 persons who will be splitting up the anti-Nana block of vote. That clearly means that they will be splitting it in small pieces among themselves. If Nana's vote is even 40% or 45%, that is a solid block that will not go anywhere. So by all picking up forms, they are making it easier for Nana Akufo-Addo to win.
But does your point remain that we're likely to see a number of candidates joining the race?
Yes, if even the current 6, Alan has indicated he will join, so let's make it 7. If those who have picked up don't chicken out and they all pay the 75,000, we'll have 7. Nana out, there are 6 who will be challenging Nana, telling the delegates that, look, Nana has had his 2 terms, he's lost, so give one of us, the 6, a chance. Now what happens is that Nana's block of votes is solid, they all go to him. If even those who don't like Nana are 60%, they are going to have the 6 people splitting up the 60% basket of votes. And that will clearly, obviously, doing the record science to tell you that Nana will win. If they want to make it competitive, then those 6 who have picked up forms, they should talk among themselves, the remaining 6, that look, if we all want the party, we think Nana cannot win the 3rd time, let's all rally behind one person against Nana. Then they could have a chance, and then they could be able to upset the cast. But clearly, Nana Akufo-Addo is the favorite to win.
I can now bring in some points that were raised earlier by some of the supporters of Stephen Asamoah Boateng who thronged to the national headquarters. Now, what they basically were saying was that Stephen Asamoah Boateng represents the hope to dealing with a seemingly rivalry between Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and Alan Kyerematen. Now, from your standpoint, do you see Mr. Stephen Asamoah Boateng as someone who represents that particular hope these supporters were trying to put out there?
They ran up to 2008. We did some work prior to the elections, and part of the questionnaire bordered on this. And it was done within the stronghold of the NPP. And I think that if there's one person that the Kufuor/Alan and Akufo-Addo camps think that it could represent like a compromise candidate, I think that that person will be Professor Mpomboate. Even though in the run-up to 2010 Congress, Asamoah Boateng supported Alan, it looks like from being an assistant, he wants to be the master of the Alan faction. But as a compromise candidate, I think that Professor Mpomboate fits the bill.
But does Asamoah Boateng's chances look bright at all?
Well, they are now, it is when the money is paid. It is after a mini election, then you can do something snap. But I must tell you, Prince, Akufo-Addo is formidable. Whether beyond the party, and that has been part of Alan's argument, that Akufo has become an NPP Odikro. That is, you always win within the party, but will he go outside and pick up the floating voters? That's why you always say that you must pick a candidate who appeals most to floating voters.
And recently we've had the party, top brass or the leadership come out to say that they need a clean campaign. They want to see a clean campaign ahead of the Flagbearship race. Now, with this perception that there's an ongoing rivalry between Nana Akufo-Addo and Alan Kyerematen, are we likely to see a situation where matters are going to douse in a moment from now?
Clean campaign, that is the wish. Whether they will have it is another thing.
Okay, very well. I'm going to have to thank you very much, Mr. Benefson, for speaking to us here on today's big story. Benefson is a poster, of course, speaking to us here on today's big story. I'm going to bring in Fred Amankwa. He is an NPP activist who raised this issue of the need to have truce as far as the seeming rivalry between Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo and Alan Kyerematen is concerned. And I'm just going to ask him exactly what he makes of Stephen Asamoah Boateng picking up his nomination forms, and of course Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo joining the race and picking up his nomination forms as well. Going forward, are we likely to see a clean campaign? We've heard from the party leaders they want a clean campaign. Are the signs really clear? Fred Amankwa is here. Fred, good evening.
Thank you, good evening, Prince.
Welcome to today's big story.
Thank you for having me.
So quickly, you heard Poster Benefson. He is seeing rather, more of a gloomy picture for the NPP as far as the Flagbearship race is concerned. The rivalry will not end. We're not likely to have a clean campaign. You were asking for that. Do you think that it can really happen, a clean campaign?
Wow, I don't think I got the. Thank you for the question. I don't think I got that impression that that's what Ben Epson intended, painting a gloomy picture. His last statement was that is the wish, but whether it could materialize is another question. Yes,
and so it's gloomy.
No,
it's
gloomy.
A wish.
Well, that is our wish.
As to whether it can materialize.
And I can tell you on authority that yes, it can materialize. Yes, the various camps have acknowledged that unless we go on a clean campaign, respect, decorum, circumspection, there's no likely, it's going to be very difficult for us to wrestle power from the NDC. And so we are seeing signs of people ready to conduct themselves in that spirit, and I'm all happy for it.
But talk about seeing, we've also seen splinter groups, arise from both the Alan Kyerematen camp as well as Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo camp, and they all seem to have some form of entrenched position. And prior to the opening of the nomination, you heard a number of your executives root for Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. Some thought it wasn't fair for the other candidates. I can mention names. Steve James Aposa, for instance, he came out clearly to mention that the party should go for Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo. So, are you likely to see
Ajay Mensah is not an official of the party now, is he?
Then?
Yeah, but then we've moved on. There are new executives, and none of the executives have come out to support one candidate against the other. And they've made it clear that the party constitution upholds splinter groups formed around personalities. And so yes, you have people. This is a democracy.
But you have these splinter groups.
This is
still
we are
in
in a
party.
democratic dispensation. The national constitution supersedes any other regulations in this country. And so forming associations, you can't stop people from forming associations. Our party constitution does not, and I repeat, does not encourage the formation of splinter groups within the party.
But you have them.
Yeah, you have them. So we're managing them. And within the last week, we've had the one, I think, Keck or something, and then one Konya, both of them coming together to now call them, agree to conduct clean campaign, even as we go into the election. So I'm happy, and I'm hopeful that whatever calls that we have been making is gaining roots, and I'm all happy for it.
I'll come back to you. Let me just go back to the phone lines and bring in Dr. Brenya. He's a political science lecturer at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, and we're basically talking about the Flagbearship race of the New Patriotic Party. Doc, thank you very much for joining us on today's big story.
You're welcome.
Now, Doc, Stephen Asamoah Boateng picked up his nomination forms today. Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo did same. For you, do you think that the road to the flag bearership race for the NPP seem really clear, even though there are those who feel that something needs to be done about the seeming rivalry between Nana Akufo-Addo's camp and Alan Kyerematen?
I think certainly the road is clear. From history, we know that for the NPP, every time we've had a lot of presidential aspirants taking their nomination. I was finding when Asabi made a claim that he's the David to bring down Mahama. Of course, that I would call a political gimmick that politicians often make. I think at the end of the day, the race is going to be between Alan Kyerematen and Nana Akufo-Addo. And talking about the perceived rivalry, I think rivalry in politics itself is not a problem, but how you manage it. So far, what we've seen is that NPP has not done a very good job with managing the rivalry that happened during the presidential aspirants. If we want to cast our eyes back to the 2008 presidential primaries between Hillary Clinton and Obama, yes, it was really rough. There were a whole lot of things. There were insults. But at the end of the day, they were able to manage their differences such that at the end, all the Democrats were rallied behind Obama. And I think that is what NPP needs to do.
But you've heard their party executives, I mean, the NPP's executives, they come out to say that there's a need for truce, you know, as far as these seeming rivalries are concerned. Don't you think that's a step to dealing with the trend?
You know one thing, before I even get to that, let me say one thing that I have observed that I think the leadership of the NPP has done very well. If you look at the time that they organized this Kumasi demonstration, one of the things that the leadership has been able to do is that it has been able to sort of, at least temporarily, ended the perceived rivalry where people were going on radio stations to talk about Alan and Nana Akufo-Addo. The focus right now had been on the NPP, the hardship that people are focusing, the doomsaw, and all those. And I think that was one good thing that the leadership has done, and which is supposed to rally their base. So I think if the leadership can keep on with that, if they can take the party members' ideas, their perception from Alan Kyerematen or Nana until the person is elected, it will work very perfect for them. But whether that is going to be the case is going to be very difficult, given the fact that some of the founding members have taken entrenched position with some supporting either Alan Kyerematen or Nana Akufo-Addo. That does not augur well. That does not augur well. I would expect that it was rather their supporters who should be doing that. But when the leaders themselves are taking position, making comments that make it seem as if it is the party's position, it becomes very dangerous for the party, and that makes it very hard for them to be able to heal their differences after the flag bearer has been elected.
Dr. Brenya, I want you to hold on the line, and let me bring in Fred Amankwa here. You heard Dr. Brenya. He still feels that the party leaders needs to do a lot in ensuring that truce is called, and that has always been your call, Fred.
Yes, it has, but I'm not sure when you say party leaders. Our elected leaders have demonstrated that they are willing to resolve any issue.
But there's a lot more they can do.
Of course, I mean, you cannot quench fire within a minute. It will take a while. There will be some simmers here and there.
So what do you expect them to do?
Well, they should continue with the effort you're going, be neutral, show neutrality in all that is happening. And of course, I agree with Doc when he says that, yes, attentions and focus have been shifted to the hardship that Ghanaians are facing. I think that as a party, we have concentrated our efforts and our communication rather inward, in our own party, as against looking at the larger national issues that confront this country. So yes, we need to do more. We need to focus, yes, in our internal building unity within the party, but we need to focus more on what is happening at the national level, where the present NDC government is acting abysmally in as much as development of this country is concerned.
Let me go back to Dr. Brenya. Dr. Brenya, do you think it will be easy for the candidates running for the flag bearership race to be able to, factor the national issues into the kind of message that they put out there to the delegates?
I think they would, but the problem has always been that they wait to the last minute to do that. Initially, they were accusing themselves, creating damage that oftentimes becomes very difficult to heal during the presidential, the election itself. So if they can take attention of what I'm expecting right now is that everybody knows that the country is in hardship. Everybody knows it's easier for you to tell your story when you keep the government on its toes. When you're talking about issues, whether it is coming from Alan's camp or coming from Nana's camp, it is not going to be the case that you will not at least to get political capital, that you will not project yourself as more advantageous to win the presidency from President Mahama when you are campaigning, so that at least the delegates will vote for you. But sometimes we overdo it. Sometimes we over-criticize the other party, that it makes it very difficult. So yes, they could, but timing is of essence here. If you wait until the last minute when the flag bearer has been created and the time that it takes for you to heal your wound, you would have very limited time for you to resell your message. And that is why I see not just the presidential aspirants coming in, the leadership themselves, those that have been elected, the national secretary and others, who start giving that message. And when they do that, then they could, of course, take some of the focus from the commentators who go on radio and say all kind of things. That oftentimes is misinterpreted as the position of the party. And to come back to what your guest was saying with regard to whether elected members are speaking, when you have people that are termed as founding members, they don't need to be holding an electoral position, an elected position. If they are called founding members and they are making comments, sometimes, remember, most of them are known in the party even more than people who have been elected these days. So that has to be taken into consideration, and the impact that it can cause the party.
It looks like Fred has some issues with the word and founding members. But you have founding members in your party, don't you?
Yeah, we do. Everybody
but
has.
How do you manage their comments and the way
you can't
tackle
stop
issues?
A person from a founding member. It's not an elected position. He's a founder of the party. That's where it ends. But if there's an elected
whatever position he or she takes,
anybody at all,
carries a lot of weight.
Anybody at all who wants to speak on the issue must be decorous, irrespective of your position. You know, supporting one person or the other should not necessarily create upheaval within the party. Okay, we should be decorous, circumspect with our communication. That's it. So I'm not so worried if the person is not an elected person, because the Constitution is very clear. It is when an elected person of the party, an elected officer, is seen to be supporting one candidate against the other, that is where there's a problem. But if it's a founding member, yes, we would expect that he remains as neutral as possible. But if he doesn't, his interaction should just be with respect. Nobody will stop you from supporting one candidate or the other. After all, this is a democratic party. People have choices to make. People vote anyway. They're going to vote anyway. So if they have good and cogent message about a candidate and they want to sell it across, I think we should do it without necessarily attacking the other contestants.
Hold on, Fred. Let me finally wrap up with Dr. Edward Brenya. Doc, so let's look at the dynamics now. If there are no reactions you want to do right away, though. Basically, we have Stephen Asamoah Boateng, we have Honorable Nimo, we have Alan Chematin, there's also Dr. Konedu Apraku, of course, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo, and more to come, certainly, as far as the flag bearership race is concerned. Doing your own projection, how is it going to look like for the NPP?
Oh, I think definitely we're still going to have Alan come on board. That is known. It is not clear if Isaac Osei may come on board. It's not make any indication. We don't know if Prof might come on board. But quickly, to react to the comment that he's making, yes, we do agree that we are in a democratic institution. The NPP is a democratic party, and we would expect that anybody at all can or should support any candidate of their choice. But oftentimes, as he really said, most of the time when we are declaring our support, we make it as if, and that is the point I made earlier on, we make it with authoritative. We make it an authoritative statement. There have been times where people have said that one party or the other cannot stand because they feel that that party is going. It creates a whole lot of confusion. And remember, the people that we are dealing with. The people that we are dealing with. So when we say things like this, it is not to castigate one party, but we as political scientists are trying to look at the likely image that it can create to the party. And we are not saying prevent people from speaking. Just talk to them, and I do agree that we have to be very vigorous with our statement, but oftentimes, that has not been the situation. I think it is a lesson the NPP needs to look at and probably do some homework so that even when we are declaring our support, we do it in a way that we can call democracy, not hatred.
Very well.
Most of the time, that is how you come out.
Very well, Doc. Thank you very much for joining us on today's Big Story.
You're most welcome.
Dr. Edward Brenya is a political science lecturer at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. We'll be joined on the phone line shortly by Philip London. He's a special aide to Alan Kojo Kyerematen. We just want to find out from him exactly when Alan Kyerematen will be filing his nomination. But Fred, coming to you, if Alan Kyerematen pulls out last minute, would that come as a surprise?
Well, I don't want to be surprised in politics. Anything is feasible, anything is possible. And so if he looks at the dynamics and things that, look, let me get out of the race, well, that will be his choice. But whatever the situation is, I want all of us to agree that we are in the same boat. We sink or we float together. And so if we throw in missiles at each other, then we should know the repercussions of what we are doing. Doc, I think we're speaking the same language, maybe from different platforms. He's made the point and buttressed what I said, that nobody can stop anybody else from supporting any other. The Constitution is clear on the elected representatives of our party. They cannot. So any other person, be it founder or whoever, is at liberty to support whoever he wants to support. But in our doing so, we need to do that with respect, with decorum, and with circumspection. For me, I do not see any other way. You want to sell your candidates, just do it, and without attacking the other. Comparing fruits, mangoes and oranges are both fruits, but you cannot pick and choose as you want and denigrate the other person and expect that the party will be as strong as we really want. There's a lot more that people of this country need as on national issues that we should be hammering on. For the past 6 months or so, it's been within ourselves. We have more news within ourselves than without in the larger society of the country.
Do you see your candidates drumming on these issues? Are they likely to take the center stage of their campaign message?
I think so. I think that has been clear. There are more rules and guidelines have been given that anybody who goes contrary to these rules would be sanctioned, and if our representatives, the national executives, will be strong to their word and walk their talk. We should have a very clean campaign this time around, without the rancor, without the havoc of coming back to talk about unity. We should not be talking about unity if we had a clean campaign. And everybody, I think any one of them is capable. I would not want to rule anybody out. Of course, there are big fishes in the ocean, but you're not going to rule anybody out. Everybody who goes to pick up the nomination. And mind you, the Constitution says 5 people maximum. So even if 10 people pick it, we're going to go to vetting, right, and then scale it down to 5.
So we're not likely to see those skyrocketing numbers we saw in 2008.
No, we're not going to do that, because we learned our lessons in 2008. As Amaboti said, that when you go into election, you learn some lessons. I have learned my lessons. So yes, the next time around, maybe I may have to do things differently.
How many candidates do you want to see?
Well, the Constitution says 5. If I have one candidate, I'm all for it. But the Constitution says 5, maximum 5. So we expect that no matter the number that picks, it's going to be pruned down to 5.
But what would be your direct response to those who say that it is time to end the Nana Akufo-Addo Alan Kyerematen duopoly?
I don't know. I don't get it. Stephen Thomas Boateng has come on board. Professor Frimpong Boateng is coming on board, or maybe may come on board. We've had.
I'm saying this because people think that if you look at other direction, probably we can end all these rivalries.
The two had gone to how many elections, and they've all had the majority of the votes collectively, if you put them together, more than the others. Maybe they have 90% of the votes, and then the 10% is split among the rest of them. So yes, they are the contending candidates, but it's not a duopoly, because if it's a duopoly, then everybody else must toe a certain line. But that's not what we are saying. We have people come on board.
But the focus is on the two of them.
The focus,
more than the other
focus of you and I is on the two of them. But that does not make it that they are the only ones that are in contention. There are others.
Is it that they are louder than the others?
We make them louder.
Who made them louder?
We, you and I. Here, we're talking about them. What happened to the others? So we, members of the party and even the media, we are drumming home the two names, but there are others that we can equally drum if we so wish. But you're selling your message, you're selling your news, so you also want to bring out issues that are controversial, that can get the attention of your listeners and your viewers. So yes, we can't take that away from you, but there is no duopoly in the party that has, as we speak, 5 people going to pick up forms.
Thank you very much, Fred Amankwa.
Thank you very much for having me.
He is a member of the NPP speaking to us here on today's Big Story. We're hoping to have raised on the phone lines Philip London, special aide to Alan Chermatin, who obviously will be picking up his nomination forms a bit later on next week. And as and when it happens, we'll let you know. But that'll be it for this segment, though, on today's Big Story. Coming up shortly, Marian Toure will be here, and she'll tell us what people are saying about Brazil 2014 and what others are also saying about other things that are happening on the social media. Stay tuned.